Hey, this is Max, and welcome to the Ronin System podcast. So, today's episode is pretty special, and if you haven't seen from the title, and you just like straight up downloaded the episode and just went straight to watching it or listening to it, it's about me getting my black belt. I literally just a couple of hours ago, this afternoon of February 16th, 2020, I received my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so this is me just talking about it. And really, if you guys if you've known me for the entire time that I've from when I started jiu-jitsu until now, or you've gotten to know me or whatever, or if you've trained with me or if you don't train with me, if you heard me talk about it, it's a big part of my life. It's a big passion of mine. If you guys listen to this podcast, you would know it's a big passion of mine. Jiu-jitsu and martial arts in general are very major in my life. And this is something that a lot of people, pretty much everyone would consider an achievement, and personally, I at least for me, I don't see it that way. I don't see it as an achievement for me. I see it more as a marker. I see it as sort of, in all honesty, I wouldn't know how to describe it. I just know that it's not an achievement for me. It's just something that happens, right? It's just something that it's almost guaranteed when you commit to it the way I've committed to it. And just a little bit of backstory. Funny enough, I started jiu-jitsu February 16th, 2011. So it's been exactly 9 years since I started jiu-jitsu. Since the very first time I walked into that MMA gym back in Richmond, and I went to my very first jiu-jitsu class, my very first Brazilian jiu-jitsu class. I had some wrestling experience. I'd watched UFC. I had done some judo. I had done some backyard brawls. Street fights. Thought I was a tough guy. I thought I was a tough kid. And going in, it was validated a little bit. I knew a little bit. I was able to keep pace. I didn't have to do all that beginner shit. And I say beginner shit because that's what I thought. And now I know that those were the building blocks that I needed, that everyone needs to get good, that everyone needs to get better as they continue that journey, and I was just fortunate enough to sort of skip that phase, but I was also unfortunate enough where I skipped not the physical part, but the sort of mental preparation part. Because I'll tell you, man, in this past 9 years, I've changed a lot. I've grown up, of course. I was 17 when I first started. I'm 26 now, and I know a lot of people don't think that's old, and in retrospect, it really isn't old. I barely started my life, in all honesty. But 9 years is a long time. 9 years is a very, very long time. That's almost it's literally a third of my life that's gone into this, and I really have grown a lot. I've lost that sort of immortality and vulnerability complex that every teenage boy has, especially one that's been in street fights, the one that's been winning those street fights. And I really sort of developed as a person. Back then I was just some hot-headed, angry kid that was just felt like that they were immortal. It felt like they could do whatever they wanted. And now I've learned, I've grown from that. I've been humbled. That's something you hear a lot if you do jiu-jitsu or if you've heard about jiu-jitsu, that it's a very humbling thing. You get a lot of humility from it because it's pretty much one of the only martial arts, aside from like MMA or like, full contact martial arts, where you get to learn that you're not the best. You get to learn that you're not as strong, you're not as fast, you're not as smart, you're just not as good as you thought you were. And, that's probably one of the biggest reasons a lot of people do it and continue to do it. And again, through those 9 years, I've done a lot of growing, I've done a lot of learning, of course, and I've done a lot of sort of introspection. And if you guys have listened to these past few to this podcast for the past few months, probably about like the past 4 or 5 months, I've hinted at. And I've even said outright that I've wanted to quit. I've wanted to stop doing it, and I've wanted to, just give up. And it's only gotten stronger over that time. But until recently, and it had nothing to do with me getting my black belt, but until recently, about a couple of weeks ago, I I had this revelation that, no matter what I've been through, it's not been that bad. And the only reason I want to quit is not because of some external reason. It's not because of something that's affected me physically. It's just me, myself, affecting myself mentally and emotionally. I am my own sort of wall here. And during this the seminar today where I got promoted with nine other black belts, 10 total black belts, and everyone had a story to share. Everyone had something to say, and I was one of the pretty much the only one that didn't have anything to say. And all these guys, they're older than me. They've had more experience. In total, out of the 10 of us, there's a collective like 150 years of experience in jiu-jitsu alone, like pretty close to it, or more than that. It was incredible. And those guys have been through so much. They've gone through so much together. They've battled cancer. They've battled just terrible experiences in life, losing friends, losing family, and I haven't. I haven't gone through that. I haven't had to fight cancer. I haven't gotten sick. I've gotten injuries, but everyone gets injuries, and those aren't that big of a deal. I'm young. I've broken ribs. That's fine. I've gotten muscle strains, muscle sprains, joint issues, back issues, things that have kept me off the mats for maybe like a month or two at a time. But these guys, some of them have been off the mats for years. People that didn't get their black belts, people that I've heard about, they've experienced more. You see it all the time. If you ever go on the BJJ subreddit, they talk about it all the time. There's guys that go through a lot in life, and they feel like jiu-jitsu has given back to them in a lot of ways. They feel like jiu-jitsu has given them a family. They've given them friends, lifelong bonds. They've given them something to learn from. And, me personally, it's just, I remember saying that jiu-jitsu has taken away more from me than it's given. I've suffered more physically, mentally, and emotionally doing jiu-jitsu than doing anything else. And I remember someone asked me about that. They're like, well, why would you keep doing it? And I didn't know. I didn't know how to respond. That was just what I felt, and I couldn't figure out what to say to respond to that. Why I felt that. Why would I keep doing it? And the more I think about it, the more I thought about it. It's because I'm just addicted. That's what an addiction is. It's literally like crack. Like when you're on it, when you're doing it, you feel amazing. You're 100%, you're 110%, you're 200%. And then when you're not, you're dead. You're zero. You want to go back. You don't want to not be doing it. And it's the same thing for jiu-jitsu, for martial arts, for MMA. When I did MMA training, when I did kickboxing, when I did boxing, when I did wrestling, when I was there, that's all I wanted to do. I never wanted to get off the mats. I never wanted to stop training. I'd be there for hours a day. I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu, when I first started at that MMA place I was talking about back in Richmond, I was there 2-3 times a day, an hour at a time at least, just training. That's just all I did. That's all I would do during school, during the summer especially. I would train constantly, and I was just addicted, and I learned a lot from it, of course. And I've obviously kept doing it because it's kept me away from that, I guess, bad life that I lived before. Getting into random street fights, getting in with these bad people. It's taken me away from that, and that's something I appreciate a lot. But it's also something where if I could go back in time, I would tell myself to do better. Because it's taken me until now for me to realize that I had a lot of issues. Not physical issues, not sort of mental issues, but I guess a little bit of mental, but more emotional issues. Again, I was always hot-headed. I was always angry. This is something people didn't know, especially at that time. No one knew besides me, maybe my brother. I was suicidal. I I just didn't want to live. I just wanted to disappear. Nothing mattered to me. Nothing at all. I just That's probably why I felt like I was immortal, why I felt like I was invulnerable, because if I died, it didn't matter. And it was something that like subconsciously, unconsciously carried throughout my life, where no matter what, it doesn't matter. It was a very nihilistic kind of mindset. Not even pessimistic, because pessimistic you just think everything's bad, but nihilistic is just nothing. And that's just how I felt. I would show up to jiu-jitsu, I would do it. I'd have a good time. I'd share some laughs. I'd have fun, but it just didn't do anything for me. Nothing did anything for me. And even now, I have to now enjoy it. I literally just a couple of weeks ago, I realized how I felt. I always knew that I had issues with suicide. I had issues with depression, anxiety. I'm still battling it. I'm still battling bouts where I just can't get out of bed, where, no matter what, I just want to lay here. I just want to lay there, not do anything. And I'm getting through that, you know? I'm, again, I've just recently learned about myself, where I am the only thing holding me back. Me thinking those thoughts is what's holding me back. And I'll tell you what, since that time, I've been training not more often, but more consistently. I've been working harder. Been hitting the gym too, and that's something I haven't done in years, where I actually had a focused program, where I actually felt like I'm going in there and I'm actually trying to improve myself, instead of just going in and being like, oh, yeah, it's gym life, hashtag gym life. No, it's my life is getting back to living. Before it wasn't. And that's really something that jiu-jitsu has taught me. A lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people will talk about the good things. Sometimes they'll talk about the bad things, the things that jiu-jitsu has helped them on, where they have feelings of their ego, or they have feelings where they just feel like giving up, and they realize, all these amazing things, like jiu-jitsu makes you humble, jiu-jitsu, shows you that you're not the best, shows you that you don't get good, you only get better, all this. But I've never really heard anyone say that they hate it. And I mean, I'll be honest. I'm here to say that I don't necessarily hate it, but it's just been this journey that I feel like not a lot of people really go on. It's an experience that not a lot of people have, that's similar to mine, at least that I've heard from. And I just want to be the first one to kind of come out and say it. And again, I am happy. Don't get it twisted here. I am happy that I got my black belt. Again, 9 years. 9 years is a very long time. But again, it doesn't have the impact on me that it had on everyone else. And I've been thinking about it for a while now. I've said it before, like, I don't really care if I get my black belt. And now that I have it, it just doesn't change much. I'm still going to tie my belt the same way. I'm still going to show up the same mentality. I'm still going to train the same way I trained. Albeit a little bit better, because I'm not deaf. I'm not dead. I'm not this sort of walking zombie that's this kind of walked in the mats trying to kill himself. Thinking about killing himself. I'm not that anymore. And this is I wouldn't say hard to say, but it's just, I don't know how to say it. There's a lot I want to say, but I just don't know how. There's people out there that do jiu-jitsu because, like I said, it makes them feel good. It's changed their lives. It's changed their lives for the better. Like, there's stories you hear about people that have lost like 100, 200 pounds just doing jiu-jitsu over years. There's people that have achieved so much in their lives that they've turned their lives around doing jiu-jitsu, doing martial arts. Again, just martial arts in general. You hear it all the time. And, they hear people where they want to make a lifestyle out of it. Like, they want to open their own gym. Like, they want to compete. I mean, I've never had that feeling. People always come up to me like, "Oh, Max, you're so good. Why don't you compete?" Or yeah, you compete in that tournament, man. You're gonna do really well. Why? I don't need to. There's no point for me to do that. I'm what you would call an advanced hobbyist. I'm someone that's high enough in level and in rank and in skill where, yeah, sure, I can go out there and compete. I can do pretty decent, but I'm not gonna be a world champion. I'm not gonna win any gold medals at these amazing events. I'm not gonna earn money from doing this. I mean, if I killed myself doing it, yeah, sure, but why? I don't need to. I can do other things with my life. You know, I don't need to open my own gym now just because I'm a black belt. I don't need to do that. I can just keep being a hobbyist. I can keep doing what I'm doing now. There's no validation for me to compete, to open my own school. There's no validation there. I love to teach. I love to train. I love to be competitive, but I don't need to be. I don't have to be. And I'm tired of having that pushed on me, and it's something that, again, it was a pressure on me when I was training. That was another sort of like mental suffering where people would be trying to be pushing me to compete. They were trying to push me to do certain things that I just didn't want to do. And I've just, again, recently just said, doesn't matter what they say to me because it's not going to change who I am. It's not going to change how I think or how I train. So, it's if they keep saying it to me, I just be like, nah. I don't need to blow up at them. I don't need to blow up on myself. Just arguing with myself, saying, oh, why don't I compete? Why don't I train harder to go to that tournament, to open my own school? I don't need to. I've learned from that. I mean, again, guys, if you listen to this podcast a lot, I talk about it a lot because it has taught me a lot. It's shown me a lot, but it's shown me good and bad things. It's shown me all these sort of areas of my life and my personality where, it's good and bad. It's shown me that I do have a very, very, hot-tempered, angry side. A very red side that I don't express all the time. I don't see red. I don't see blood. I'm not that just bleed guy that goes out there and tries to kill everyone just because I have an anger issue. No. Yeah, I've found a balance. If you listen to the past few episodes, just about last month, it's end of January, beginning of February, where I talked about all these negative traits, quote unquote, like selfishness, overconfidence, fear, anxiety, all these things. I learned from jiu-jitsu how to control them. Not just control them, but live with them, respect them, and build them into who I am. Use them as sort of character traits that help me become the best version of myself. That's really the goal of jiu-jitsu. Like I said, that's actually where I learned that quote, you don't get good, you only get better. That's from jiu-jitsu. Because no matter what, no matter how good you are, no matter how many world championships you have, or how undefeated you are, how long you've been undefeated, it doesn't matter. Because there's always going to be one person that you may have never met, you may have never heard of, that's better than you. And there really isn't anyone that's undefeated in anything. In anything. You only get better. And that's something I had to learn. That's something I had to experience. And that's something I know now, where I will train harder because, yes, I want to get better. I want to keep getting better. Like, good is the dream, but better is the goal, right? Because a dream is something that you strive for, but the goal is something you can achieve. It's something realistic. And I know I'll get better. And I know that, in all honesty, I probably will never beat these depressive states, these anxiety attacks, these, in truth, I'll never beat these suicidal thoughts. I never will. But that's okay, because I can get through it. And I won't ever act on it. I know that for sure. And again, 9 years. It sort of took me to learn that. 9 years. I started having these feelings, these thoughts back in high school. before I even started jiu-jitsu. It was way back in like I think like summer of freshman year, something like that. And it took me 9 years to sort of build something to learn from that, to do something to learn from that. And I know I've said it before, about giving up, about stopping. I could, but I won't. I'll keep doing jiu-jitsu probably for the rest of my life. Lose an arm, lose a leg, I'll still do it. You know, there's guys out there that literally have no arms or legs, and they still find something to do. You know, some sort of martial art. Like if I can't do jiu-jitsu, I'll probably do like Tai Chi or some shit. But, but yeah, I don't think I'll ever stop doing jiu-jitsu. You know, there's so many inspiring stories out there. Again, like I've said before, so many inspiring people, even people that I train with, that have stories to tell. You can learn from them. Just because you've never experienced it doesn't mean that it's not a big deal, you know. And again, just for me personally, it's not an achievement for me personally. For them, I can see it. For them, I'll applaud them, congratulate them, because they've been through so much, and they've gone through an experience that I wouldn't want to, an experience that I probably wouldn't have the heart for, you know. So again, I don't know. I know what to say. I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm thinking. But for some reason, I don't know how to say it. It's just, you know, maybe I should have waited a week. Maybe I should have given it some time. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to say it now. I wanted to say all these things, sort of get it off my chest now. And yeah, it's 9 years to the day, which is really funny to me. And here's to the next 9, here's to the next 90, you know. It's just been such a crazy journey because I've had to fight myself for some reason. I've didn't even realize that I was just beating myself down. I was hating on myself, being mad at myself. You know, I was thinking, you know, when I first started, like, why would I keep doing this? Like when I wrestled, when I've had those sort of really big emotional thoughts during wrestling seasons, why would I keep doing it? I just quit. And I found jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of weird because I moved from one grappling art to another grappling art, still having the same thoughts, but for some reason I stuck with this one, you know? And again, you know, it's jiu-jitsu has just taught me a lot, but it's put me through a lot too. You know, it's put me through these anxious phases, these stressful phases where I felt like I should have been an MMA fighter. I felt like I should have been an instructor. I felt like I could have done so much with my life. You know, it bled into my academics. It bled into my social life, where it's like, oh, that's all I could think about, where it's all I could do. Again, like crack, like an addiction. And you know, I keep stressing this 9 years thing, but it really did conveniently start around the time I started jiu-jitsu. You know, there's these whole sort of depressive states and emotional thoughts and whatnot, or suicidal thoughts and whatnot, really did start when I started jiu-jitsu. And it's really started sort of I figured out a way to get through it when I got my black belt. It's just, you know, the timing wasn't exact, but it was close enough where it seems like it's destiny. It seems like it's fate. But in my heart, I feel like it's coincidence. Or maybe even just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Who knows? But again, I know what I want to say. I don't know how to say it. Maybe I'll figure it out next week. But, you know, for this one, if you guys have just gotten your black belts, if you guys have ever been on the road to your black belt or still on the road to your black belt, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to describe the feeling. You may not have been through the experiences I've been through. I've definitely not been through the experiences you've been through, but you know, I can see it being a big deal, but you know, if you ever see me in public or if you want to say something to me, I'll be honest, you don't have to. In fact, I don't really want you to. You know, you can say congratulations to me. You can ask, you know, can say whatever, but I probably won't respond. I don't want to respond. Not trying to be mean, not trying to be sort of an asshole or anything, but I just, at least right now, I don't need that. I don't need it. You know, give it to the guys that deserve it. Give it to the guys that you know, it really did do something amazing for them. Because it's about them. You know, they're my training partners. They're the ones that deserve it. You know, not me. Not me. But that's it for this one. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys maybe got some inspiration from it, but you know, either way, I just hope you guys liked it. If you did, write a review, subscribe, feel free to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter. Just try and keep up to date. I try and post as much as I can on those things, but really it's just once a week whenever I come out with an episode, if I come out with an episode. But, you know, life is always gonna beat you down, just like jiu-jitsu. And you know, it'll make you suffer, it'll make you, you know, feel all these feelings, feel all these things, give you good times, give you bad times, but that's life, and that's jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is life, is what I'm trying to say here. But either way, guys, if you've been with me on this journey this entire time, can't thank you enough. Especially if you've been being with me on this journey for the 9 years that I've been doing jiu-jitsu, or even longer. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's just been crazy. Again, hopefully I'll come up with some better things to talk about, better things to say, a more coherent and, you know, sort of a tangible podcast, you know, something you can actually listen to and get something from. But, you know, I guess this is just really the definition of a ramble. But, yeah, thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing day. Get out there, get hungry, and good luck.